Good morning, friends. Previously, we did the lecture of motion. So, here there are some videos to show you some kinds of motion. In motion, we learned the characteristics of motion are speed, direction, displacement, distance, acceleration, and so on. So, let us see a few examples of motion. Yes, can you observe the motion? So, here you have seen the kinds of motion, right? So what is the cause of motion? So we have understood that motion has got speed, direction, velocity, acceleration. But what is the cause of the motion? So this chapter is now moving from motion to the cause of motion. Once again, observe. You can see the pictures. Okay, so can you observe the trolley right here? Observe how it is moving and what is causing it to move. Okay, so you can see that the boy is pushing the trolley and making it to move. Okay, let us see the other case now. There's an old lady here and there's a dog on a leash. So see what has happened. Oh, the lady is pulled forward with such a velocity, you can see the acceleration is too high. Now let us see the planet Venus once again. It is moving at a constant speed. Yes, it is rotating at a constant speed. We have to find out what causes this motion. And now here we have got iron balls and the person is holding a magnet and see the movement of the iron balls. Yes, so here magnet is there, the balls are moving. So something has caused this motion. So we will see what is the cause of motion. And the answer is yes. Before we go to the answer, let us observe something else. Yes, you see the man who was at rest has come into motion. If you have watched the movie Spider-Man, you will remember this scene. What is Spider-Man trying to do in the scene? He is trying to stop a train. The bridge has been broken in between and the train could cause an accident. So Spider-Man in this movie is trying to stop a moving train. Here this guy is trying to move this pillar. He wants to bring the pillar in motion, but it looks as if he is unsuccessful in bringing the pillar into motion. So you can see that the ship put the man into motion. Spider-Man is trying to stop the train. The guy is trying to move the pillar. And what are they all actually doing? What have they done? The previous videos we saw and even this videos we saw, what is happening here? Now we have got a small video of the solar system. Yes, do not go by the sizes of the planet. The sun is shown very small. The sizes are not true. It's just a idea, and the motion also is not circular perfectly. We know that planets move around the sun in an elliptical orbit, which we will study later on. But just to understand, you can see the planets going around the sun and the moon going around the planets. So there is a motion going on here, and we have to see in this chapter what is this motion, what is causing this motion. And the answer to this is force. Force is causing the motion. Okay, so what is force then? We have come to a new physical concept today, the concept of force. So we understood concept of rest and motion, distance and displacement. speed and velocity, acceleration. We even saw the equations of motion. We saw scalar and vector quantities. Now we are moving to the cause of motion, and the cause of motion is force. So what is force? The answer to this is the push or pull on any object with mass that causes it to change its velocity. So the simple answer to force is the push or pull of an object on an object with mass that causes it to change its velocity. Velocity means either speed or direction, or both speed and direction. So that is force. Now what are the effects of force? It can bring a body at rest into motion. So you can see below the video you saw again, the sheep is pushing the man. The man was initially at rest, and by the force of the sheep, the man came into motion. In the second case, it can bring a body in motion to rest. That is what Spider-Man is trying to do in the movie. The train is moving at a high velocity, yes, and Spider-Man is trying to bring the train at rest. So the force can bring a body at rest into motion, a body in motion to rest. It can change the speed, direction, or both speed and direction of a moving body. So see, here the Spider-Man is trying to bring a body in motion at rest, and the sheep here has brought a body at rest into motion. So they are all applying a force. So in all these pictures you saw, a force had been applied, and that force brought the body to rest or into motion or changed the velocity of the moving body. So now we'll see what are the type of forces. So there are contact forces. So the mechanical force or the muscular force we saw, the dog pulling the lady, the boy pushing the trolley, the sheep pushing the man, Spider-Man stopping the train. They were all contact forces. That is muscular force, you can say. Then we'll learn some other forces in future, the frictional force, tension force, normal force, air resistance force, applied force, spring force. So applied force is here actually meaning all the muscular forces. And there are also non-contact forces called action at a distance force. Non-contact means the force is acting even though the bodies are not in contact. So in the previous video you can rewind the video to see, for the man to push the man, the sheep has actually to come in contact with the man. To stop the train, Spider-Man has to actually be in contact with the train. To push the trolley, the boy has to exactly be in contact with the trolley. But we also saw a few examples in which there is no contact. We have gravitational force and magnetic force. So this is the picture of the magnetic force, how the magnet is bringing the balls into motion without coming in contact with the balls. And we have gravitational force, the planets moving around the sun and the moons moving around the planet without any contact. And we have electrical force also. If you see, then near the TV your hair stands up. So there is no contact between the TV and your hair, but it stands up. That is some sort of electrostatic force. So here we have just got a short brief summary of the types of forces. Okay. So there are two types of forces, remember, contact forces and non-contact forces. Just now we are going to go into contact forces only. Non-contact forces we'll study later. Now, let us see the history of the study of motion and force. The Greek thinker Aristotle, who lived in 384 BC, held the view that if a body is moving, something external is required to keep it moving. So now that is coming from simple observation. Yes, if you see a child playing with a toy, a non-electric toy, or a box, something like that, a box is pushing the box and the box is moving. The child is playing with such a toy. As soon as he stops pushing, the toy stops moving. If you are pushing, say, a suitcase or a box or a table, what do you observe? While you are pushing the table, it keeps on moving. As you stop pushing, it will stop moving. If you are pulling something the same way, while you are pulling, it is in motion, and when you stop pulling, the motion stops. So, Aristotle believed that something external is required to keep a body moving, and that external thing has to be continuous, means constantly applied. So, according to his view, for example, he believed an arrow shot from a bow keeps flying since air behind the arrow keeps pushing it. Means when you shoot the arrow, then it is the air which keeps on pushing the arrow forward. So similarly we can say when you fire a bullet from a gun, then the air is pushing the bullet forward. But this would mean that the motion will only continue till there is air. When the air stops, the body also would stop moving. Okay? So Aristotle, whatever he observed, he gave his idea. Now today we know Aristotelian ideas are now wrong. So we have to forget his ideas, whatever brought him to the conclusion. But we have to only see one thing, an external force is required to keep a body in motion. That is his basic idea. If you want to keep a body in motion, then an external force has constantly to be applied. Now we'll try to find out what is the flaw in Aristotle's argument. Why did he think that an external force is always required to keep a body in motion? So he didn't have the idea of certain things acting in nature. For example, when the horse is pulling the cart will move. But when the horse stops pulling the cart stops to move because there is something called friction. So we'll learn what is friction later on. But to just summarize, friction is the force which opposes motion. So if friction is more, then motion will be less. If friction is less, motion will be more. So a child pushing a toy, the toy will come to rest because of friction. So to keep the toy into motion, the child has to constantly apply an external force. Okay? Now when the car is in uniform motion, there is no net external force acting on it. So the force by the child cancels the force of friction by the floor. So suppose you imagine that there was no friction. Then once the boy pushed the car, it would have to go in motion. So in nature, there are opposing forces. There is friction in solids, a force called viscous force for fluids, that also you have to study later on. But in nature, there are always opposing forces. So Aristotle did not have the idea of frictional force. So he concluded to keep the body in motion, an external force is always required. So now we'll see what his flaw is. Okay? And the man who changed the idea of Aristotle is Galileo. Galileo was living during the mid 15th century, and he had a scientific view. A scientific view means he questioned things. So that is what our education system is trying today. And why we are particularly doing physics? To build a scientific temperament. We can see what is happening around us. But what is the question? Why it is happening? How it is happening? How it can be stopped? Are the questions constantly coming to our mind. Yes, these are the questions constantly coming to our mind. Why it is happening? How it is happening? So that is what Galileo did. So first of all, you see, to get a true law of nature of forces and motion, one has to imagine a world with no frictional force. Okay, now to get an idea of frictional force, Think of a very simple thing. You are playing with a ball on grass, on sand, and on a tiled floor. Now if you apply the same force to the ball on all the three planes, what will you find? Where does the ball roll more? Does it roll more in the grass? Does it roll more in the sand? Or does it roll more on the tiled floor? So you know the answer. It will roll more on the tiled floor because the tiled floor is smooth, and it is smooth means the friction is less. So we have to imagine a world. Now even if the floor has got less friction, it has got some friction. Very less friction, but there is friction. To understand uniform motion, we have to imagine a world or imagine a place with no frictional forces. So Galileo thought scientifically, tried to answer questions and see what he has come up. Now ignoring, so let us ignore the frictional force. Ignoring everything else right now, an object rolling down a slope will speed up. We know that when an object is rolling down a slope, the speed is increasing. Why? The velocity is increasing because there is an acceleration. And who is causing the acceleration? So we will learn that force causes acceleration. So what is the force of the earth called? Gravity. So gravitational force we learned is a non-contact force, but the gravity of the earth is pulling things down. So when a ball is going down a slope, the speed is increasing. Again, ignore everything else, the air, the friction, ignore everything. Okay, and imagine an object rolling up a slope. So gravity is pulling things down, but here we are trying to push the ball up. So what will happen? You will observe the ball will slow down. So when the ball was rolling down the slope, the speed was increasing. When it is going up, the speed is decreasing. Yes, decreasing because of acceleration. Gravity is pulling us down. The ball is trying to roll up. So when the ball is coming down, the speed is going up, increasing. When the ball is going up, the speed is going down, decreasing. So if the ball is neither going up nor going down, when is that possible? When it is a plane surface. So when the ball is going on a plane surface, the speed should not go up and the speed should not go down. But if the speed doesn't go up and the speed doesn't go down, means the speed should remain the same. So on a level surface, it has no reason for the speed to go up or the speed to slow down. It would mean that the velocity is constant, not changing at all. So if the ball is in motion, it will constantly remain in the same motion. It will neither speed up nor speed down. It will not stop also. It will go on forever and ever with this constant speed. So this is the basic idea, the first thought which Galileo thought of. So what ideas Aristotle gave, for hundreds of years people believed those ideas without putting any question to it. Galileo did not agree with Aristotle and he put forth some questions. So you can see the logic in his thinking, and you can also think like this. When a ball is rolling down the slope, the speed is increasing, that we can easily observe. When a ball is going up a slope, the speed is decreasing, that also we observe. So our logic will tell when it is going on a plane surface, nor up nor down, the speed should not go up, the speed should not go down, but the ball should keep on going in the same constant velocity. Constant velocity means neither the speed is changing nor the direction is changing. So the speed and direction is not changing. So this is logical. Okay, a thought experiment. Now Galileo actually tried out the experiment. So this is Galileo's experiment. And here he tried to make this thing. Now this is shown as a corner here, but actually tried to round it up. Okay, there were no corners actually. He tried to round it up smooth. He tried to reduce the friction as less as possible, and this is his actual experiment. And look at his observation. The ball is kept at a certain height and allowed to roll down. So the ball is kept at a certain height and allowed to roll down. What is observed? The ball rolls down, but on the opposite side it moves up to the same height, rolls just as high. This is the observation. On a smooth surface, a ball is allowed to roll down from a certain height. On the other side, so what happened here, you can see the previous thought experiment. The ball is coming down, the speed is increasing. The ball is going up, the speed is decreasing. So all the speed that it gained here on this side, it has lost on this side. But what was the observed consequence? It went up to the same height from which it was rolled down. Okay, so what did Galileo do next? He kept the first slope as it is. In the second case, he changed the slope. He changed the inclination. Okay, again smooth surfaces, but the same thing happened. As the ball was coming down, the speed increased. When the ball was going up, the speed decreased. The observation, the height again remained the same. But what you can observe here, height remained the same, but here the distance is less and here the distance is more. But the ball rolls up to the same height. Now imagine you made the slope like this. Then the ball would have rolled till here, same height. Okay, the ball would have rolled to the same height because that is the observation, same height, but you can see it traveled a longer distance. Because of the slope, it traveled a longer distance but to the same height. So in this case, the ball has come down with the increased speed and going on a plane surface. Now this is not a slope, so the speed should not decrease. Why? If it was a slope, the speed would decrease. So this ball will keep on rolling till it attains the same height. Yes, you can see whenever we make slopes, no matter how long slope you make, the ball will attain the same height. But here it is not possible to attain the same height because there is no slope, it is a plane surface. So the ball will keep on rolling till it reaches the same height. But the ball will never reach the same height, so it will keep on rolling. So it should keep moving forever. Why moving forever? Because it is never going to reach that height. So Galileo said this is the natural motion of the object. That once the body is in motion, it should remain in the same motion forever and ever. Then we ask the question, then why doesn't the body remain in the same motion forever and ever? It is because of friction. So friction is a force which Aristotle did not consider but Galileo considered. He said gravity here, which is pulling the ball down, gravity is increasing the speed and friction is opposing the motion, so it will decrease the speed. But if we imagine there is no friction, there is nothing to slow down the speed, then the body will keep on going in the same motion forever and ever. So if you ignore the frictional force, then the body will remain in motion. So with this conclusion, Newton carried on with Galileo's idea. So we'll learn who Newton is later on. But then Newton built on Galileo's ideas, his experiments, and he gave the foundation of mechanics or the laws of motion. Now don't mix laws of motion with equations of motion. In the previous chapter we had done the equations of motion. In this chapter we are going to do laws of motion by Newton. So don't mix those names. There are 3 laws of motion. So don't mix laws of motion with equations of motion. But Newton's first law is nothing but Galileo's law of inertia. What is inertia? We'll see. Inertia means the tendency of a body to resist the state of motion. Not resist state of motion, sorry. The tendency of the body to resist the change in state. We'll see what does it mean in the further lectures, but right now, Galileo's law of inertia. Now the only difference between Newton and Galileo is, Galileo did scientific experiment but did not have enough maths knowledge to formulate the laws. Newton was a mathematician and he gave the exact laws and the equations to study motion. So Galileo had done thought experiments and given us the right conclusions, but he could not make the laws because he was not quite into maths. So let us now state what is this Galileo's law of inertia or Newton's first law of motion. It is, every body continues to be in its state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled by some external force to act otherwise. Or, in simple words, a body at rest tends to remain at rest, and a body in uniform motion tends to remain uniform motion. What is uniform motion? No change in speed and direction. So, a body at rest tends to remain at rest, and a body in uniform motion tends to remain in uniform motion until an unbalanced external force acts on it. So, what is an external unbalanced force? So I told you what, now I will tell you what is the meaning of unbalanced force. Imagine on a surface we have a box. Okay, imagine on a surface we have a box. Now a man is pushing this box. Now we just learned because of the contact of the floor and the box, there will be a frictional force which is in the opposite direction. So if the force of the man and the frictional force balance each other, then the net force becomes 0. So this body will not move at all. The body will not move. When the body will move, when there is an unbalanced force, means the man's force should be able to overcome the frictional force and then the body will move. So this is the idea of an unbalanced external force. So we just learned that forces in nature acts in pairs. So when the net force is unbalanced, so it is greater than 0, only then the body will move. So again we conclude with the Galileo's law of inertia or Newton's first law of motion. A body at rest tends to remain at rest, and a body in uniform motion tends to remain in uniform motion until an unbalanced external force acts on it. So this is law of inertia. And how do we state inertia? Inertia is the tendency of the body to resist its change in state. Change in state means, what does inertia mean? If a body has got more inertia, then if it is at rest, it will not come into motion easily. If it is in motion, it will not come to rest easily. That is the basic idea of inertia. Okay? For simple example, right now the school is not going on, but you have got online classes. Now your mother has to wake you up for the online classes. So if your inertia is more, then even if she is trying to wake you up, you will not change, you will not wake up. This is not a proper example but just an analogy. You will not wake up because inertia is more. So your mother applies more force and you still don't wake up because your inertia is more. And then your father comes and shouts at you and then you wake up because his force is more than your inertial force. Okay, not a good example I know, but still you will understand the analogy. So when you apply a force on the body and it overcomes the frictional force, it is an unbalanced force, only then the body will change its state. Okay, so I hope you like this lecture. Rewind this lecture once again, see the thought experiments, See the video, Spider-Man trying to stop the train, the sheep pushing the man inside the water. Yes, enjoy the videos and enjoy the lecture also. I will see you with the next lecture to see Newton's second and third law of motion. But before we will go to the second law of motion, we have to understand a concept called momentum. But that is for tomorrow. I end here today. Thank you.